Welcome, everyone.
Hey, what's up?
Good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, guys. Welcome, everyone in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us for Project Restart. This is brought to you by GenXCarnival. And I just want to shout out our sponsor, 𝐏𝐑𝐄𝐓 Shopper. Don't forget to use the GenX code for 10% discount. How is everyone feeling tonight?
I'm feeling excellent. Feeling good.
All right.
It was
Tanya, you said you had a headache?
Yes, I have a headache. So right now I'm putting it on.
Okay. So we're going to just send positive energy and positive vibes to you so you can make it through this.
Yes.
You hear that, Tanya? Be positive.
Scott, your stats.
So again, thank you everyone in the chat. Thank you everyone that's joining us. We appreciate you guys being here. Tonight, I will be chatting with some of the top carnival industry leaders from across the Caribbean. I will give each of them an opportunity to speak and just introduce themselves, where they're representing, their bands and so forth. Matthew, we can go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, no problem. My name is Matthew Waddell. I'm with GenX, as it says down below. We are a South Florida, specifically Miami band, but we like to consider ourselves an international band. And we're hoping that things can trend in a manner that we can participate in several different carnivals this year. I'm pretty sure several people share the same sentiment. That's it for me. Thank you.
Great. And Craig Frederick. He's all the way in Cayman Islands, so it looks like he's having a little bit of tech issues there. Did we just lose him? Okay, we'll wait for him to come back on. Mr. Scott Dunn.
You guys hearing me? I've been having tech issues as well.
It's a Caribbean. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm Scott Dunn. I'm the managing director of Dream Entertainment. And along with 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬, we're co-owners of 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬.
Wonderful, thank you. And the beautiful Tanya.
Thank you. I'm Tanya Booms, a director of 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬. We're based in Trinidad and Tobago, but we would say that we're a international global brand because our arms extend beyond our shores. We are co-owners of Exodus, as well as Scott said, and we're also present in St. Lucia and Miami and Grenada and UK, just to name a few. That's it for me.
Thank you. Mr. Frederick, let's try you again. There we are, okay.
Good evening, everyone out there. My name is Craig Frederick. I am the owner of Swanky International and one of the directors of GenXCarnival here in the Cayman Islands. And I've been involved with many international carnivals over the past almost 20 years. I've been doing this. Swanky is actually celebrating its 15th anniversary this year, and I'm not talking about virtual. So July 3rd, we are proud to be hitting the roads of the Cayman Islands for Carnival 2021.
15 years, wow, that's amazing. Congratulations. And I will just introduce myself. I am 𝐏𝐑𝐄𝐓 of 𝐏𝐑𝐄𝐓 Entertainment, CWPL Global, and 𝐏𝐑𝐄𝐓 Loves Kids. So we will jump right into this. I will ask a bunch of different questions, and each of you guys can feel free to contribute to them. So how has your band been impacted by this pandemic? So you guys can take turns to jump in on this one.
Not all at once. Matt?
I was like that.
Yeah, I guess I can kick it off. I mean, I'm going to assume that most bands have been impacted in like similar ways. You know, in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, I think it may have only been Trinidad who got a chance to kind of jump on the road. Obviously, GenX with Miami, we didn't. So we kind of had to postpone for a year, you know, in terms of how that impacts the band and the brand. It's negative. And I think I think that sentiment is something shared across different spaces. It's not just Carnival, it's retail, it's restaurants, it's everything, and it's global. So I mean, me harping on how it impacted us, I think it's really going to be similar across the board. We didn't have a carnival. We weren't able to express ourselves. Our patrons, the people who love to enjoy themselves with us, they weren't able to jump on the road. They weren't able to kind of see what we were planning to bring, to the table for 2020. Hopefully things change. And I think we're on this call right now to kind of discuss certain mechanisms, certain processes that we can kind of, start to champion that may, act as a catalyst to kind of speed up things or kind of safely kind of get us back trending the right way. I think that's what this conversation is about, or should end up being about. And, I'm obviously just glad to kind of share my piece and kind of share, our experience and our thoughts in regards to that situation.
Thank you, Matthew.
I just want to jump. I didn't realize that my mic was on mute when I tried to answer as well. As Matthew would have highlighted, we would have been the only country to have a carnival in 2020. So in terms of the impact from our perspective, we basically went into the mode of trying to understand the virus and what the impact would have, not just on carnival, but entertainment on the whole from a global perspective. But it would have allowed us to relook at our structure and the direction and vision where the brand is concerned. So for us having a carnival, what we had to do was find a platform and different ways to have the brand remain visible for not just our masqueraders, but anybody that was looking at what can be possible during a year where there will be no carnivals around the globe.
Thank you. Scott, did you want to jump in on that one?
Sorry. So I've been having internet connections. Can you just repeat the question real quick?
I was.
I think I might have found a good spot.
How has your band been impacted by the pandemic?
Oh God, how has it not been impacted? I think for us in Jamaica, it might have been the most impactful, because I think of anywhere in the world, we were the ones closest to actually having a carnival. So our carnival was scheduled for April 2020. The virus hit Jamaica in March. We'd already sold most of our costumes. We were pretty far along with production. We had already run all the costs of having a carnival season in terms of paying staff for the whole season, running a showroom. So, again, we're pretty in when this came around, and then we were forced to postpone initially to October, which we thought was, at the time in March, seemed like, okay, that's safe. That's 7 months away. This will be long behind us by then. And again, postponed till April 2021, which I say is just around the corner, and is also looking doubtful at this point. So it's been very impactful, both for us and for our revelers, who are very frustrated at this point.
Yeah, similar to what Scott was saying, we were pretty much next in line with our carnival being in May. And we, like everything else, did take a huge blow from it. And especially for Cayman, from the Swanky International perspective, where 2020 was going to be an amazing carnival year for Swanky International on an international level, because we were scheduled to be involved with 5 major carnivals for 2020. And of course, with the pandemic, everything just went. It has been a very stressful year. It has been a lot of challenges, but with the faith and with the optimism for the future, and just be able to right now plan a carnival after what we all have been through in 2020, just makes my little heart all warm. So we are now, the Cayman Islands, in a great place that we're hoping that we will be actually able to have a physical carnival no holds barred. Carrie, you're on mute.
Very muted.
Oops. So with Cayman Islands, potentially having this carnival, how does everyone else envision restarting? Like, what does that look like to you guys? Tanya, what do you see for the future of restarting?
The thing is with us, it was a continuation for us because we didn't have to stop because our carnival happened. We kept on moving and stuff and everything in terms of planning towards a potential carnival in 2020. By, I think it was June or July, we had already shot like 5 sections towards a carnival. So for us, it was, we didn't have to restart. We technically still had to wrap up 2020 and everything that came with it. Speak with the team, continue to plan towards a direction because we already had our theme for 2021 planned since October of 2019. What would have happened is that we would have activated conversations with our affiliates locally and internationally as well. So those convos were in the plenty. So for us, it was really and truly trying to be there for each other, understanding what the impact would be, how we're going to move on from here, drawing different scenarios, possibilities, timelines of our next move when a carnival is possible and stuff. So technically, we had to adapt to listen, but then too, we also had to adapt to make sure that we didn't fall off the grid because we would have been like, trying to figure out how to make a carnival happen if it was possible based on the data and everything that was coming from the news and local press briefings and stuff. So for us, we didn't restart, we continued.
Gotcha. Thank you. Matthew, how does GenX plan to restart? Like, what does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, that's a good question. As it is right now, I mean, if you understand, like South Florida, Miami, kind of probably behind Texas, we are one of the more open states or regions, for better or for worse. Some people agree with it, some people are really against it. And opening for us, I guess we are cautiously optimistic, but we actually really don't have autonomy to decide whether we're going to go on the road or not. We do have a governing body by the name of 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬. They kind of liaise with the city, with the state, and they're in communication with the city and state, and they're kind of they're playing it day by day. To be honest, they're in conversations and they're letting us know what can be done and what can't be done. So, to give a little bit more information for us, we already had pretty much our theme, things of that nature set up from 2020, so we basically commissioned most of our designers already, well, all of our designers already, and they're kind of, they're doing what they need to do in terms of producing prototypes and things of that nature. But contingent on what is said and contingent on what is done by, I would say, 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬 in partnership with the participating bands in terms of coming up with a COVID plan or something that can be pitched to the state or to the city that they can say, okay, you guys can actually do an event like this with this large scale participation, which kind of falls in line with what they would identify as something that is quote unquote safe. I think that's where we are. So we hold, I mean, GenX, we don't make the entire, or we're not responsible for the entire decision in terms of moving ahead. With that being said, we're still cautiously planning. Every aspect that has to do with Carnival and putting on an excellent show, we've already kind of gotten those wheels turning, but we are essentially waiting and we're in conversations with the city and state to see exactly what can happen. At the end of the day, we want to make sure it's safe. We want to put the reveler, we want to put the masqueraders first. And if we believe that, or if the state and us and everyone believes that this can be done in a safe manner, then of course. But if not, it's a situation where we have to really entertain, potentially going another year without Carnival. Hopefully the right decision will be made in the end.
I like that. Cautiously optimistic. Okay. And Scott, how does it look, for you in Jamaica? How does restarting look What does that look like for you?
You know, again, with our carnival that we're so far, you know, down the road, for want of a better word, that we're ready to go. So from Exodus standpoint, you know, our costumes, what hasn't been done is just stuff that's not practical to do until you're close to Carnival. So, you know, it's like adding gems and putting together the backpacks, but literally all the raw materials are there, the body wears are there. So for us, it's really just a constant dialogue with government in terms of when is a safe time and how is a safe way to execute a carnival. Unfortunately, we're having a then make a decision that we can do. You know, it's being done. You know, it's really, our fate really is in the government's hands, but we're trying our best to push that conversation along in the safest possible way.
Thank you. And what would you say has been the economic impact, you know, in Jamaica? Your phone is breaking up a little bit.
Well, all right, so I'll give you, yeah, so, well, I can tell you, Carnival in Jamaica, and $1 billion Jamaican dollars, which is a little more than 30 million US dollars. Carnival in Jamaica brings in. Exodus is the biggest band in Jamaica, so you can imagine that, you know, we're responsible for a large chunk of that economic impact. So it's huge. I mean, you know, it does a lot for hotels in Kingston. It does a lot for the economy in Kingston. I mean, some of our biggest hotels in Kingston are closed at the moment, and those that are open, most are somewhere around 20% occupancy. So it's huge. You know, events in general, you know, what it contributes to the economy in Jamaica is tremendous, and you know, even specifically, Carnival in Jamaica is our largest festival in terms of economic impact. So it's a big blow.
Thank you, Scott. Tanya, I know you're in Trinidad, and I'm sure that there's persons that are interested in hearing as well. You know, what has been the economic impact on the ground in Trinidad?
Well, how to start this? What I will say is that we have been very heavily dependent on oil. That is something where the dollar has been dropping for a very long time, to the point where it gotten, I think, below 15. I don't want to quote a particular figure, but I know that oil is not something in terms of what we can depend on, again, to be able to fuel the country in terms of foreign exchange and stuff. So from an economics impact, we are dealing currently with a forex exchange issue. Be short on the dollar. With no Carnival, because Carnival brings in, I think it's 15 million or so dollars, or it could be more, at the beginning of the year. So you have banks and stuff basically saying that that foreign exchange is not there to be able to do business, to be able to trade, for people, you know, for companies to be able to have access and stuff. So from that aspect, not having the oil like how we normally would have had, and then not having Carnival, which is the other income earner, that is a serious blow for our economy. I mean, people have lost their jobs. The hotel industry is basically operating with, you know, internal tourism at present. People have had to find secondary, how should I say, skill levels to be able to feed themselves and be able to generate a dollar and stuff. So we need to have the Carnival happen in the safest manner possible, because all of our suppliers, whether it's our feather people, our seamstresses, the people that we used to do our gemming and stuff and everything, that the industry has been hit very hard from the creative perspective. Even our artists, because most of the artists would have traveled after our carnival ends here, and obviously our borders have been closed since March 10th of last year. So we would have had to find ways to be able to deliver our product online to be able to sustain your brand. So it has been a serious impact when it comes to our economy and the movement of the dollar.
Thank you. And just to piggyback on that, so how do you guys think we can do more to support the restoration of that ecosystem? Because, like you said, there's a lot of people that are being affected by this, from the food vendors to the cleanup crews to the artists to the trussing people to production to videographers. How can we do more in our respective spaces to support them? Scott, you can jump in on this if you'd like.
Well, I mean, just on a bigger level, on a macro level, I think, certainly in Jamaica, the government needs to do a lot more. The entertainment industry as a whole GDP, the entertainment industry still hasn't received a dollar from the government, in any kind of relief funds, despite being the most impacted industry in Jamaica. We've been down, we've been closed for a year, and there's been no help from the government. So, I'll start there, and I'll imagine there might be, so beyond that, just on a more micro level, what we can all do individually is, however we can support these people with whatever they're doing now, support people in the industry. I said bartenders are taking a hit. So if you go, if your country is open and bars are open and you can tip a bartender a little bit more, or if, the regular costume designers are now doing other types of clothes or doing swimsuits and you can buy from them, like however you can support people in the industry in whatever little way possible. People doing, an online event and they're charging for it and you can support that. Like people in our industry are feeling it and feeling it in a significant way. A lot of people are suffering in silence and, maybe are too proud to say how bad things really are, but people in our industry are really feeling it. So anything you can do to support people who that their primary income is normally, events and the carnival business, I ask you to do that.
Thank you, Scott. Matthew, do you have any, advice for supporting those in the ecosystem as well?
Well, I wasn't going to comment on and give advice on that. I think Scott did an excellent job, but I just kind of wanted to throw something out there, because things in the Caribbean, specifically in Jamaica and Trinidad, it is a lot different than what's going on in Miami, so situations where the entertainment, the entire industry seems to be shut down in Trinidad. It seems to be shut down in Jamaica. When I speak with people who are in the space, it's like they're trying to be extremely creative. So, I would say a month and a half back, Exodus, they actually came up to Miami. They did an event. The event went well, Their competitor, Jamaica, which I believe, I don't really want to call numbers if they're the second biggest band or the third biggest band. I know they're not. They're a lovely band. Apparently, they're not the biggest band, which is Exodus, but they're doing a weekend up here. So people are becoming extremely creative with how they try and execute within the space, and it just comes down to, can you move your operation to somewhere where they will allow you to do allow you to actually operate. So Jamaica is coming up to Miami. I believe it's the end of April or the beginning of April or something like that. But they're basically, patterning what Exodus did. Someone down there in Exodus came up with a brilliant idea, like, listen, if they're not going to allow us to express ourselves and do business in Jamaica, we've got to start to think out of the box and sometimes think outside of the country, because the borders aren't closed. So I guess if I were to give some advice in terms of what people should do, and this is a very overarching advice. It's not very specific. It's, hey, listen, this is just how you should think about things. You may want to try and scale into markets that are appreciative and allowing you to do business. I guess a low-hanging fruit is Miami, South Florida. I'm not sure what's going on in Texas. Another one is Atlanta. So they have people here, they have promoters who are doing, if they're doing their event here in South Florida, they're also moving to Atlanta and they're doing the same thing. And the events are being well patronized. You know, the attendance is significant because people are locked up and people want to enjoy themselves. They want to have fun. You know, I think some people, you know, I'm not going to say what percentage, might be throwing caution to the wind a little bit in terms of, you know, just being safe in regards to the virus. But when you're locked up for 12 months, you know, you can imagine that certain decisions are going to be made kind of under duress. You know, I just, you know, if even me as a man, I need to get out every now and then, you know, regardless of the situation. I'm not proud to say it, but, you know, I can see that type of thought process being mimicked, you know, on a larger scale, you know. So in Florida, in Atlanta, in places where they're going to allow you to do stuff, if you can scale your operation to infiltrate some of these markets, that would be some advice I would give. You know, other than that, it is very tough. Obviously, in Trinidad, their borders are closed, so them doing something like this, you know, might pose a different roadblock, might require a different level of creativity with the thought process, with the thinking. But yeah, that's how I would actually frame that.
Thank you so much for that, Matthew. Craig, did you want to chime in? I think you're muted. Hold on one second. There we go.
I feel for everyone within the industry that directly and indirectly that has been affected, not just in the carnivals, but in the entertainment industry. I mean, even still here in Cayman, where we have a lot more leeway, I guess you could say, where we are now, where we can have an event with 1,000 people at the moment, which from what I've been told is going to probably be bumped up to 1,500 this week or next week. But, you know, we still have been impacted, you know, from the tourism standpoint, the entertainment standpoint. And, you know, I feel, especially for the other Caribbean islands, especially, that, you know, we are quite fortunate here in Cayman, where unlike the majority of the other Caribbean islands, you know, tourism isn't our first pillar of our economy. So, you know, being in Cayman with the finance being the pillar, we've been quite fortunate. So, you know, my heart goes out to everyone else, and you know, it's been a very stressful year for everyone on planet Earth. You know, and all I can say is, with, you know, things changing dramatically since January 20th in the US, and also around the world, you know, I'm an optimist, and I'm looking forward to us getting back, being able to give people, wherever we are, give people that little break, that little reprieve called Carnival, that Carnival creates. And, you know, just it's amazing to see what impact Carnival has. That's pretty much where I am at right now. And, you know, I'm really hoping to see something change for my other Carnival brothers and sisters, especially within mass bands.
Yes, definitely, for sure. So, do you guys anticipate like lasting repercussions after this? You know, like production cost increase, ban fees, given that everything that has happened thus far. Do you guys anticipate that will be happening? Tanya?
Well,
Craig, you can go ahead.
yeah, because I'm at that stage right now, and thankfully, you know what, it hasn't changed. You know, my all of my producers or vendors haven't increased. None of my vendors have increased their prices. And to be honest with you, it's, I hope I don't sound cold, you know, with the millions of COVID related deaths that we have had in the past year. But COVID was a bump in the road for Carnival, and you know, Carnival is something that will continue to prosper because of what Carnival is. Carnival is all about that unity, that fun, that energy, the color. And, you know, I honestly don't see it being a permanent bump in the road, you know, permanent effect. I do expect that Carnival will go right back to where we were, taking over the whole world, right? Right, my band leaders? By latest 2022.
Yeah, that's Tanya. Sorry, Tanya, I don't want to jump ahead of you. Go ahead.
I like that, Craig. The thing is that anybody who believes that the worlds could go back to normal, there is no going back to normal. There is a new normal that we're living in. COVID is here for a minute. It could disappear at any point in time, or it could also stay with us. So at the end of the day, if it is that bans, and this is from a Trinidad and Tobago perspective, you know, when you take flights into perspective, accommodation, you know, transport and stuff like that, costuming and everything from a supply perspective, costs cannot be the same. The revenue that persons would have generated, or the savings that people may have had that they would have probably had to tap into in 2020 and even into 2021, we don't expect people to have that type of income again. So for us, we've had to do a reevaluation of even what our product could possibly be in 2022 or 2023. What are the things that people absolutely need? How do we negotiate very, very hard with our suppliers? Even from raw materials and everything, how do we source things more from a local perspective compared to overseas? Because what it is that we have to do, we have to look at, you know, when you buy something away, you have to now fly it in, and then you have to deal with customs and VATs and duties and stuff. So for us, it's somewhat of a different approach. We want to be able to sustain, and we want to be able to have the same players that we've had for many, many years to be on the journey with us when Carnival, when we're ready to hit the streets again. But we know that costs cannot be the same. Expectancy, anybody who's expecting what we would have experienced a year ago, even possibly 2 years ago, I think that's something that we shouldn't try to instill in people. That's from our perspective here. We have had to do serious cost cutting and be able to make sure that when we go back out and we present a product and still remain relevant, that we can also say that how we've made something that's not just enjoyable but affordable for our masqueraders.
Yeah, that's interesting, Tanya, because, you know, it sounds as if you're saying that we, meaning, you know, the bands and potentially also the masqueraders, need to shift the expectation in terms of what the experience will be. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be shifted, that it's going to be a bad expectation, but you're saying it's going to be different. Now, I think and I hope that most people who are kind of waiting on Carnival, you know, after such a long break, after such a long reprieve, you know, whichever Carnival is out the gate first, and, you know, when I say out the gate, I kind of mean a Carnival that has no restrictions, because, you know, speaking specifically to Miami, I anticipate that we're going to have something. I hope it's going to be amazing. I hope it's going to be something where they really give us leeway, or the countries in a state where they can afford for us to congregate in that type of manner, you know. But let's say that's the case. I think consumers are going to be expecting something magnificent because they've been waiting for so long. I'm not sure how other people feel. I've heard the point of view where people are like, hey, listen, after such a long break, they just, you know, consumers just want to really get out, listen to the music, really have fun, and really will enjoy and not take for granted, you know, just the ability or the optionality that you can be out in the street drinking and having fun and partying with your family and friends. Because, you know, when in 2019 we thought that this was a given, 2020 showed that, you know, this shouldn't be taken for granted. So the expectations are you might be able to, consumers might not hold you to the same standard. you know, and I'm interested to hear what other people have to say about that, because I actually feel that they're going to feel like they need just the best. We've been waiting for so long. If we're coming out strong, you know, and others have kind of shifted and given me a different point of view, you know.
No, let me just jump back in here. There is no way at all that humor would reduce the experience of a masquerader at any point in time. What we're known for, one of the main things that we have known for, apart from our vibes, is our costuming. And we would have launched 2 costumes at the end of our Carnival 2021 period. And it still remains up to the humor standard that people are accustomed to. But what it is that we've also analyzed, especially looking at 2020, the different views of women in particular and what men want as well, we have to be able to produce, or I should say design a product that fits every single possible body type, and still be able to manage raw material costs from a certain perspective. They're still going to have the frontline masqueraders who's going to want their big feathers, and there may be the person that say, you know what, I just want to play mass, but all I need is body wear. So at the end of the day, we have to be able to understand our markets and who our masqueraders are, and be able to create a product that everybody should be able to tap into to be able to enjoy themselves and have the experience on the road with us in 2020.
Whenever.
Yeah.
2020, whenever. Okay. So it sounds like you're talking about more optionality within the spectrum. Within your spectrum of offerings, you still keep whatever the peak was in terms of frontline, whatever that may be, but you may become a little bit more flexible in terms of just body wear or potentially just a t-shirt and shorts. Is that
we have to, because the experience in Jamaica would be different. Jamaica is 1 day, right? So when you look at cost in Trinidad and Tobago, we are 2 days. So that's basically 2 days of paying for services compared to 1 day in Jamaica, even 1 day in Miami. Yeah. In terms of the amount of suppliers that we use here versus probably suppliers used elsewhere. So, you know, variables will change island to island or country to country. So a masquerader will always compare what they get somewhere else and expect to have that when they come to Trinidad and Tobago. But the thing is that every country is different and every country is experiencing a different type of economic impact. So my experience, or what we may have to offer, may not be the same experience that you may be able to give for Miami Carnival, or what Craig is going to give in KMAS. You also have sponsors. Sponsors are hurting at the end of the day. Alcohol sales are down. You have to buy alcohol in the grocery. Restaurants are closed at 10 p.m. So for us here, we may want to put a certain product on the road, but guess what? We may not be able to do so. And I'm not saying that that's the case now, because we have to let the economy basically revive itself once it is that we're able to, you know, inoculate and stuff and everything. So it's a day-to-day process in analyzing Carnival here and the application to how we're going to move forward. So that's kind of like along those lines.
Okay.
Thank you, Tanya. So before we go on, we do have a virologist that will be joining us. We took a survey on our social media, so I'm just going to go through some of the responses that we got online. So the first question was, would you take the vaccine to go just so that you could go to carnivals across the globe? 72.5% said yes. Do you think social distancing would work on the road? 20% said yes. Alcohol makes people forget all about social distancing. What do you think about drink regulations? Someone said most of them said 55% free for all. B was 2 to 5 drinks per person, so a chit system, 45%. And no alcohol at all. Of course, we know that was 0% because nobody's actually going to say that. And then, would you be willing to do a rapid COVID test before entering? 92.5% of the people said that they would definitely do that. This conversation has definitely given me an even bigger tabanka that I've had just thinking about not being able to go to Carnival. So I'm actually going to play a little skit from one of our committee members, because how she's feeling is pretty much how I'm feeling, and I'm sure that you guys are feeling too. Everyone in the chat, please, drop some flame, drop some messages. Let us know, what Carnival are you looking forward to? If the world was supposed to go, it would go back to normal tomorrow. What's the first Carnival that you're jumping out to go?
She really love the road. She don't care about nothing else but the road.
It's road time.
She get on bad on the road. She sit down on the road. She wind up on the road. She push back on the road. She walk up on the road.
I'm so excited for the road this year. I'm gonna find my husband. It's gonna be so much fun.
She bump on me like rum, brother, rum, brother, rum, brother, rum, brother. Show me how you whine on the road. Show me how you whine on the road. She really love the road. She don't care about nothing else but the road.
Hold on. Let me call this girl and see where she's at. Hello?
Hey girl.
Carol, where are you? It's road time.
Road time? Where are you?
Girl, I'm at Carnival. Where are you? It's time to get on.
Carnival? Asha, are you dreaming?
No, let me call you back. Let me sit down for a second. Maybe she is right. Maybe I am dreaming. Maybe I was dreaming. I cannot wait for Carnival to restart.
Okay, so I think.
Me not gonna lie, I had a tear.
Oh my gosh.
That test song, that instrumental, that Savannah Grass is one where that is pull some heartstrings. So
Yeah, like I literally teared up and I was like, oh my gosh, is anyone feeling else like this? I see people in the chat are actually saying real tears. Wow, that was very emotional, and I'm reminded even more how much I miss Carnival. So a lot of people are in the chat commenting. So they're saying that they can't wait for Cayman, Crop Over, Miami, St. Lucia, Trinidad. The first thing I'm looking forward to is Trinidad, DJ Spice, K-Mass. They're hoping that they open the island to internationals. Okay, we're just gonna have to keep our fingers crossed and pray for the best. So for those of you who are now joining, we are talking Carnival and COVID with some of the experts from the industry, the Carnival industry from across the region. I would like to introduce our virologist that is here with us, so she can give a little bit more insight regarding the vaccines and COVID-19. Hi, Lizelle. Let me unmute you. Oh, I think I unmuted you and then you muted yourself. One sec. There we go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good
Awesome.
evening. Thank you for
Hi,
joining
good
us.
night. Thank you.
So you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Dr. Liesel Jeffers Francis. I am located in Durham, North Carolina. I'm an assistant professor over at North Carolina A&T State University, trained virologist from the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago. And that video you just showed was just too much. Tears.
Girl, I'm telling you, I think I'm going to cry after this. So one of the main questions that I'm sure that every single person on this panel and even in the chat wants to know is, how safe are the vaccines?
Oh, absolutely. Very safe. I got my first shot of Moderna a couple of weeks ago. I'm looking forward to getting the second shot. I mean, the safety trials have been done on all of the vaccines that are available right now. So if you actually go back and look at the data, if you're one of those people who are interested in doing that, you'll see that, for example, the most recent one, Johnson and Johnson, they had 0 persons die or hospitalized that were vaccinated with, for example, Johnson and Johnson vaccine, and that's just one example.
Okay, and what would you say are the differences between, the main ones like the Johnson and Johnson or the mRNA? Can you elaborate on that for us?
Right. So Pfizer and Moderna, those are the mRNA vaccines. Those are pretty non-traditional, so we've never had an mRNA vaccine before. That doesn't mean that it doesn't work. Actually, they've been working on this type of technology for several years. If you were to, if you've seen Dr. 𝐏𝐑𝐄𝐓, if you've ever seen an interview by her, so she was one of the creators of Moderna. She will tell you that she's been working on mRNA vaccine for the last 6 years. So it's new to us, as in the public, but it's actually a technology that they've been working on for a really long time. The other vaccines, for example, AstraZeneca and Johnson and Johnson. So those technologies we're more familiar with. So they are vector-based, and basically they're using another virus. If you want to look it up, it's called adenovirus, which most of us have probably been infected with as a carrier, for lack of a better word, of the proteins that are expressed on the SARS coronavirus. So once they inject us with the adenovirus that's carrying the SARS proteins, then our bodies are able to make antibodies against the SARS proteins. So those are more traditional type of vaccines, and they are also very safe.
Gotcha.
And those are the differences among them.
So are there any major risks involved, you would say? Because obviously that's a concern for a lot of
Right.
persons.
So major risks, meaning, so the most major risk is if you die from it. And so far, I have not seen any data where an individual have died from any of these SARS or COVID vaccines. If you were to look at the data for any of them, if there were people that died, the numbers are not more than the number of people that would die on a daily basis. You see what I'm saying? But you asked if there were any major risks. Right
Or
now,
are there any persons who should not take the vaccine, in your professional opinion?
right. So people who should not take the vaccine. So they have shown with, I believe, with Moderna and Pfizer that if you have certain allergies, that you should consult your physician before deciding to take it. I mean, so I'm not a physician, so I wouldn't say, if you have XYZ, then you shouldn't take the vaccine. Those would definitely have to be decided on a case-by-case basis after
Okay.
discussing it with your physician.
Okay. And why is it so important to still wear a mask even if you're vaccinated?
Right. So we're still in the early days, and we're still trying to figure out how this virus works. It's pretty baffling, actually. So the more people you talk to and the more families that you hear about their experience with COVID, you'd have, the parents got really sick, or just the father gets really sick and the mom is maybe mild, and then the kids have nothing, or maybe one child gets sick. And it's different for every family and it's different for each person. And so that's what's so confusing. Wait, what was your question again?
Why is it important to wear a mask even when you get vaccination?
Right. So because we're in the early days, we're not sure if after you get the vaccine, if you can still shed virus. So right now, the world is looking at Israel, to tell you the truth, because they have the highest percentage of people that have been vaccinated, right? And so everyone's looking to see what's happening with them. And so far, it looks like if you have received both doses, and I want to say they either have Moderna or Pfizer over in Israel. I don't remember which one. But it looks like if you have been vaccinated with both shots, that your transmission levels are really low. So I believe as time goes on, eventually we will probably see, or most likely see, that you won't have to wear a mask if you've been vaccinated. But it's just that we're not sure yet. So it's better to be safe than sorry. You know what I mean?
Totally. Now, you're Trinidadian.
And because we want to protect those that are not vaccinated, right? Because at least in the US, the process is so slow,
right?
That if you are vaccinated, great. But if you can still shed virus, you don't want to shed it and transmit it to the unvaccinated people. So just wear a mask for a little while longer. It's not that bad.
You heard it from her. Wear a mask, guys. Just wear a mask. We're gonna get through this. Now, like I said, you're Trinidadian, so you love Carnival. What is your opinion on countries having Carnival whose population is not vaccinated?
Yeah,
as well as those who are.
That's tricky. If they are not vaccinated, that would be hard. I would say wear a mask, but it's Carnival, so I would go against that. I probably would not recommend that.
Okay.
But I heard you mention though that taking the rapid test before, and that's actually probably not a bad idea. So maybe if everyone does a rapid test the morning of, and they're all the negative people could probably go ahead and jump up. Maybe.
Okay. So I will open up the floor so that the speakers can get involved in this conversation. So do you guys have any questions that you would like to ask Ms. Liesel? Matthew?
No, I just took off my mute. I didn't need to start, but I know I'd speak soon. I don't need to kick this segment off.
Okay.
if you need, it's no problem.
I mean, we're already here, so let's go for it.
All right. So Liesel, obviously, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have someone of your stature and someone of your knowledge here to kind of share with us. My question is, it's kind of a loaded question, and it's basically to the entire panel. So this is just from my experience, which I think might be a smaller sample space. It's just the experience of, my friends, the community. And to me, it seems as if, and statistically that, Black and brown communities are seemingly less trusting of the vaccine or a vaccine compared to, let's say white or et cetera, okay? And to me, and this is just my opinion, it is almost a byproduct of just Black and brown people just not trusting the government and just not trusting law enforcement and just being not trusting, very skeptical, of people in power just based on what they've done over the last 100, 200 years, whatever it may be, a straight up a byproduct of racism. So, the actual issues that we're having with people who who do not want to take the vaccine, and this is me taking Carnival out of it. I know we're speaking about Carnival, but, just addressing the vaccine, which I think that's your space. We have a lot of Black and brown people who just do not want to take it, and we will give you a multitude of reasons. I would take the vaccine, so I would take myself out of that, but I'm just speaking from my community. I have experience with a lot of people who don't want to take it. And the reasoning to me is embedded a lot deeper than just not trusting the vaccine. It's not trusting the people who are administering the vaccine. And this is because of what they've done in the past. For several years, they've kind of underserved our community. So it becomes really tricky to kind of paint a narrative and paint a picture where we're like, hey, it makes sense to get the vaccine. What would you say to people in our community? What would be the message that you would give them to kind of champion the vaccine? Because, going to try and have Carnival, we're going to need to get people inoculated. At the end of the day, we can do as many tricks as we want, but we're going to have to get people inoculated. Yeah, you can let them in. So, what would you say to kind of have people, in our community, a little bit more understanding and a little bit more trustworthy, for better or for worse, in regards to the vaccine? Sorry for being a little long-winded. It's a loaded question because it kind of ties in, racial affairs and things along that line, and kind of combines it with the vaccine.
Right. Wow. It is a loaded question. So what would I say to people? Okay, so a lot of African Americans, they're thinking about like Tuskegee experiment and stuff like that, right? And of course, all those things were horrible experiences. But so if you think about the fact that if you get COVID, you could die from it, right? If you get the vaccine, the probability of you dying from the vaccine is minute. Not to mention the long-term effects. So you may have heard that of the long haulers, I believe is what they're called. So people who have gotten COVID, and it may not have even been mild COVID, but they're having these long-term effects 3, 4, 5 months after, which we're not seeing with the vaccine, right? So you sort of have to weigh the effect of getting COVID versus getting the vaccine. And to me, if you get COVID, you can die. If you get the vaccine, you won't die. You see what I'm saying? What else? I mean, there's several vaccines that the population have been inoculated with. And no one questions all of those vaccines that we get between age 0 through 6. Why is this one so much harder to swallow?
I think there was a lot of fanfare in regards to this vaccine when it first came out. There was a pandemic which kind of crowded or clouded the whole coronavirus in the beginning, which, there is a lot of talk and, conspiracy theory regarding, but, let's say Bill Gates. There's so many stories, there's so many underlying narratives that spin COVID on top of its head, and it just makes people skeptical, and the issue is, I'm trying to find what is how would I communicate to my friends and family, because I have family members who tell me to my face, I'm not into the vaccine. You can go ahead and take it. And I have friends say the same thing, I want to know how to communicate to them better to let them know, hey, listen, this is the right move. Obviously that's just our opinion. I think we kind of share that same opinion, but I'd like to, find myself in a better way communicating with my friends and people in my community.
Right. I think the best thing you can do is to just get the vaccine. So you'd have to be an example. You'd have to show them, hey, look, I got it. And they can see the side effects of it through you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Because you may talk yourself blue in the face and they still won't take it, right? So they probably just have to see you do it.
Unmute yourself, Craig.
Yeah, Craig. I see his hand
thought,
going up.
Can I testify? I think I'm probably going out on a limb here, but saying I'm probably the only one that is on this forum that has actually taken both doses of the Pfizer vaccine. And I want all my people out there, and this is Scout's honor, God's honest truth. The most I had was with the second vaccine or the second shot. And by taking Panadol a few hours before going to get the second shot, the only effect I had a slight fever for maybe 12, well, overnight, 12 hours, and just soreness from the injection site. I think right now I am even out of the incubation period where the vaccine takes the time to get into your body system. And I'm fine. I mean, other than my senses multiplying by 100, Joe. But I'm totally fine, and I would encourage anyone, just like was said earlier. People ask me, well, why are you taking a shot? Do you know what's in that vaccine? I was like, no, but I trust the experts. Dr. Fauci's my boy, and I return that question as, aren't your kids vaccinated for polio, for measles, for chickenpox? Do you know what's in our vaccine? So it's been what we have been doing with 𝐏𝐸MAS. The stipulations haven't been set in stone by the government. The premier did come out on the 23rd of February in a news article on 𝐏𝐸𝐬𝐬, stating that once we hit our herd immunity, we're hoping to open the island. But what we've been telling people, just to be on the safe side, get vaccinated if you can. That's the safest bet. Yes, there is still that minute chance of transferring, but it's a lot less than if you come without being vaccinated. And that is why we are at the place that we're at. All thanks to the mother country. Big up the UK. Love you, the Queen. Even though things you said about me, but I'm not gonna go there. But we are in a definitely blessed place right here in the Cayman Islands. Just to brag a little bit, in Cayman, I haven't worn a mask in public since September, October. Social distancing, I can hug someone in public, and it's mainly because the government and the people of the Cayman Islands took COVID serious and locked the island down in the beginning. We had a rough first 5 to 6 months, but we've been, other than tourism, Cayman is pretty much back to what it was pre-COVID. And again, I just want to say this, that with what we are doing with 𝐏𝐸MAS Carnival, it's not just Carnival. This is a celebration of life, of what we as Cayman has been able to accomplish. Even though Matthew's family teased me that we're just this little dot on the map, but the accomplishment that we've been able to do, again, through the great work of the government, the great leadership of the government, and the cooperation, most importantly, of the people, we've been able to be in a position we don't have curfews, we don't have mask mandates outside of hospitals, and we are, other than tourism, are thriving. But again, I strongly advise, suggest that people take the vaccine just to be on the safe side.
Thank you so much, Craig. Tanya, I would love to hear your question for the virologist, Ms. Lizelle.
Right. One question, right? Gotcha.
Yes. And then I'll pop on over to Scott.
Well, I have two, so I have to choose one. I think the one I would go with, just for persons who are still skeptical as well. There are other vaccines on the market, right? Not approved by the CDC or the World Health Organization. So based on news and everything, you have the Chinese vaccine that some of Latin America is using. You have the Sputnik vaccine out of Russia that I think Argentina just acquired. And stuff. And I mean, at the end of the day, cable is American when it comes to Trinidad and Tobago and most of the Caribbean. So a lot of what we will feed from is American news. Those other vaccines that I believe will not be approved by America, how do they compare to the Pfizer and the AstraZeneca and the Johnson and Johnson? Like, or is there data and stuff that supports that they're still on the same level, or they're on the same level based on the data of the three that have been approved by the CDC and who? Are they better? They're not good at all? Like along those lines. That's the question.
Right, good question. So a lot of the data you can't find, so it's hard to compare. I know that China has at least two of them, and they use more traditional techniques. So some of the vaccines that we currently have are so like they're attenuated virus, and that's what the Chinese have done. And so they're using a traditional technique, so technically it should work, but they don't really share their data with the rest of the world. So there's really no way for us to know how good it is, to tell you the truth. So I know the Chinese have two of them, and there's AstraZeneca, which so that one's in the U.S. So AstraZeneca and Johnson Johnson, those use an adenovirus, and that data you can find and you can compare. But your question is, how good are the others?
Yeah, I mean, well,
Yeah.
now what you're
Right.
saying, basically, there isn't enough data out there to support
Right.
approval. So in that instance, I'll understand.
Right.
Kira, I need to just add a part to that, please.
Yeah. Go ahead. No problem.
So I told my business partner, if Cuba have a vaccine, I'll be interested. Tell me Cuba have something now.
You know, I heard there was a rumor that Cuba was working on a vaccine that you could insert intranasally, right? I did hear about that. But you know, I really haven't looked that one up. I don't even know the name of it, to tell you the truth. And actually, I heard about it from my friends in Trinidad, not from other people in the U.S. So there's not much buzz about it at all that I've seen in the U.S. Well, of course.
And their medical amazements. Okay. No problem.
Right. But you know, but Cuba is well known for their
medical accomplishment. That's more.
yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
I will have to look that one up, actually.
Okay, then you'll get back to us on that. Yes, because Tanya needs to know for sure.
Got it.
Scott, what do you have for Miss Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit off the vaccine topic, but just generally her perspective. So obviously, and even Tanya reiterated it earlier, a lot of people feel like we'll never get back to normal, you know, that there's this new normal. You know, I'd like to believe that in some areas things will get back to normal. My question for her is whether she believes, certainly in terms of our world, in our industry, in the carnival world, will we get back to, you know, having big crowds in spaces, you know, without any kind of protocols, you know, being observed? Are we going to get back to a time where, you know, we can have 5,000 people and there'll be no mask and no need to sanitize? Not that I have anything against sanitizing, or you know, but just, you know, just pre March 2020. the way events operated, do you think we'll get back there? And if so, how long do you think that will take?
Yeah, I think if everyone actually takes the vaccine, we could definitely get there, for sure. And there'll be those people that don't take it, and they may, as long as those numbers are minute and spread out. The thing is, if they're all in the same place, then they will. Then we'll have pockets of outbreaks. But as long as the majority of people are immunized, either through vaccination or having been exposed previously, then I think we could definitely have pre-COVID carnival. I mean, if we look at other vaccines, you'd see that. I mean, when was the last time you heard somebody had measles? Actually, there was an outbreak in California a couple of years ago, but it's pockets of people. So there's groups of people, let's say in California and other parts of the world, that refuse to take a measles vaccine or any vaccine, and so there are outbreaks. But it's contained because most people have been vaccinated. So I think in general, if we do get to that herd immunity percentage, then definitely carnival as usual.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
I think
I'll
we're
take
all
it. And I want to reiterate it so people get it. Once we get to that herd immunity, business as usual.
I think so.
Business as usual.
But there are some countries where people wear masks all the time, right? I want to say, and it's normal.
I do have a question though. What do you feel is a comfortable herd immunity percentage?
Right. And a lot of that depends on the population.
Of 65,000 people.
65. Oh, is that how many people are in Cayman? Wow.
Wow. Everybody in Cayman could get vaccinated.
Yeah.
Everybody.
65,000. Okay.
Everybody. Tell you, UK send up them doses and them quick day from Oxford, correct?
Oh, trust me, they have been.
Well, and right. Well, and you see, all are good to go. You done Boston already. You with mask in September, so you know what.
Everybody going to Cayman Carnival.
We still have that issue of, like what Matt said. We still do have that issue here as well, where people just aren't comfortable with taking the vaccination. So, pardon me?
10 out of 65,000, it's still good. There's only 10 people in going and take it to Cayman. Here we going and fight up. You understand? We're immunity by what? The end of the year is what our government said. I mean, 75% of the population is 1.3. You ain't even 100,000. Let everybody take it.
Yep.
But again,
Daniel, I'm feeling bad for you. Jamaica is on track to do 1.6 million people by next March. That's barely 50% of our population. So our herd immunity is going to come in like 2025, I guess. I don't know what.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh there. Please, I'm not trying to offend anyone. But, what are you saying? What? Well,
but
let me tell you.
I have friends in Miami and Cayman and Trinidad who I can come and live with while I earn a living.
That definitely sounds like a plan, Scott.
Exactly. At least your borders are open, and I mean the acquisition of vaccines for the Caribbean, CARICOM, it's slow. At the end of the day, all of the first world countries and everybody who have the dollar basically bought up everything. So it was expected that we will technically be to the end of the line.
Well, we're particularly slow in Jamaica. Trinidad is quite slow as well, but Barbados seems to be doing just fine, and a few other islands.
We just paid for 33,600 last week Friday to reach here in March. We're telling me when we're supposed to get 100,800 doses in March. So right now, they need to amp up production. India have 1 billion people to vaccinate, and they also producing vaccine as well. America going to reach 100 million. May Biden say, Rowley say, check me back in May to talk about borders. UK on a certain trajectory. So right now, everybody just need to hurry up and finish the ish, so we could just continue.
We can get the leftovers.
We can get something. Jesus.
We're waiting on leftovers. Come on.
At this point, I think Tanya and I just want to get out of the country. Like, we just want to leave and just not go to Tobago only.
Yeah, I ain't even reached Tobago yet. You understand? I ain't even jump on a car flight 20 minutes and even reach Tobago as yet. But the pandemic fatigue is real. At the end of the day, it's real, and it's some, like, they just gave us outdoor sports, I think, about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, about 2 weeks.
And stuff, and it was so beautiful to see some aspect of normalcy. But and our numbers have been on a certain plateau in terms of like less than 10 and stuff. So we are doing well. A lot of people are not happy that the borders are closed. Some people welcome that the borders are closed. At the end of the day, the government is doing what needs to be done to protect the citizens. Because knowing Trinidadians or Trinbagonians, man, let me tell you something. Say a bar fully open till 1 o'clock in the morning. We drink till morning, even if it's a Pepsi. We don't care. You understand?
Taking a mile.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, we having patience, but I'm telling you, I go and jump in somebody's pool and they're just gonna run and just say, open your door, open your gates, and just jump in and that's it there. It's a lot to manage.
So tell me, guys. So, I mean, Craig is moving forward with KMAS, but given all of this uncertainty, how do you guys all plan to, how do you plan for 2021 or 2022? Matthew, you're in Miami. So what does that look like at this point? Like, how do you even begin to plan for that?
Yeah, Matthew, how you plan that?
Without letting too much out, too much out.
Well, I mean, to be honest, at this stage, it's less about hiding stuff from people, competitors. The only thing I wouldn't let out what our theme is and show our costumes on the show, which it would be magnificent if I did. But in terms of how we're planning, we are doing things, I think, from a strategic standpoint, that even if things did not work out and we were not able to have Carnival, those tasks would seamlessly kind of roll over into 2022. So we're doing stuff that we probably won't have to repeat. Okay, so we have certain costumes being made. We've already touched base with, different, I guess, our designers, making sure that is taken care of. We've already made, things like having an elaborate photo shoot. Those things are a little bit more contingent on what's really going to happen for this year. So that would be, for us, in terms of preparation, if we knew that we were not going to have a Carnival this year, then potentially we would push that off, till next year, where we can, be creative and kind of be in the moment and make sure that we're giving something, even from it being shot, something that is current, and that's, I think the masqueraders and the consumers deserve that. I wouldn't want, I don't want to talk too much more about that. But in terms of what we're doing what we feel we can do from a cautious standpoint, that if Carnival were to go ahead, we'd be in a very good strategic position to execute and deliver. If Carnival was not to go ahead, we'd be in a very good strategic position to kind of tone things down and roll over into 2022, Once again, broad terms, overarching psychology behind how we're making decisions, but I think that's kind of probably the best way to say it.
Okay, thank you so much. Scott, are there any plans that you can share with us? I think he might be having a little bit of issues there. I'll just go over to Tanya. What's happening on your end?
Scott is back.
Hi, you hear me, Karen?
Yes, now I can.
Hello.
Got you.
Are you guys hearing me now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So essentially, our plans, for the entire event industry. So our team has been, very front and center in talks with government, and for the entire event industry, and in particular for Carnival. So in terms of events with over 500 people, testing is going to play an important role in that. And I'm glad that we spoke about that a little bit earlier. So essentially, how we foresee Carnival happening is that we break the Carnival into sections that are self-contained. So you'd have a group of say 500 with 2 trucks, and those people aren't allowed to interact with people with the next 2 trucks, right? So there'll be like 100 meters in between truck 2 and truck 3. And everybody that enter the Carnival would be tested, within 24 hours of Carnival Day, including all the staff. Obviously, anybody with a positive test wouldn't be allowed to participate. Only people with a negative test. And we encourage obviously mask wearing. Obviously, that's going to be similar to in a restaurant. Once people are eating and drinking, obviously they won't have on the mask. But I said, having an entire band of negative tests and then breaking down that band into smaller groups of 500 or less, we think we can have a safe Carnival. And certainly in theory, the Ministry of Health is with us there. So it's really about just kind of dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's right now. But that's the way forward for us, at least in the short term, until we see some kind of herd immunity from the vaccines.
Okay, thank you. Tanya, I meet you there.
So Scott, would you do that for this year or for next year?
We would do that. We would do that for this year. So the hope is that by next year but for this year, because we've seen it already, there are festivals that are happening in other parts of the world using rapid testing, and even doing exit testing and testing the same participants a week later, and seeing where it has been effective. And we've seen festivals with 1,000 people come back with no positive results even after exit testing 8 days later. So we believe it, compared to a lot that's happening within the economy in Jamaica now, because it's not like we're a closed economy right now. There's a lot of activities that are happening. Hotels are open, restaurants are open, and those are happening without testing. We certainly believe events can happen, but they're not happening right now. So the government has a gathering order of a limit of 10 and no event permits, except for a short 4 weeks in the summer. Event permits haven't come out since last year, March. So it's just right now it isn't a level playing field what we're seeing here, because again, you'll go into a hotel lobby and see 400, 500 people partying. You'll see 200, 300 people in a restaurant. But in an outdoor space, we're not allowed to have even 11 people. But the compromise seems to be around rapid testing, allowing that to happen.
Yes, Scott, you brought up a really interesting point there. I don't mean to cut in, but were you saying that you could potentially use Jamaica Carnival as a study within the ecosystem of what's going on with the vaccine? So everyone comes in, you get tested, and then we see how people interact and what happens 7 days from now. Just get data. I would think that data is so valuable for the entire industry.
Yeah, we certainly don't want to look at it as kind of like a testing ground, because the obviously tests can it can be positive or it can fail, but we see it as something that's very viable and a very safe option. One, outdoor, all the scientists say outdoors is safer than indoors, and we have a lot of indoor activities happening in Jamaica. So one, being outdoor, we're in a safer space. 2, testing everybody is certainly going to help. 3, people in mass. 4, breaking that down into smaller groups. I said, maybe that's going to be a max of 5. Maybe the compromise is a max of 300. But I think if we have 300 people in a space, everybody has been tested and everybody is in a mask, that's actually, quite safe and quite viable. And again, you're looking at a population, predominantly, certainly in our band, Exodus is predominantly people in their, let's say 20s to 40s. So it's not a high risk part of the population either. It's not like we have a lot of people, over 70 in Exodus. So again, I think it's a safe, space relatively to what's happening in the economy. I mean, if we're totally locked down, then I would understand. But again, as I said, there's a lot that's happening in Jamaica. Still work from home orders aren't being enforced. Offices are full. I say restaurants are full. Hotels are, have people in there. So our argument is if those things can happen, outdoor events can happen, including Carnival.
Thank you for that, Scott. I know that we were going to Tanya. Did you want to just let us know what 𝐓𝐻𝐢 plans, or how is 𝐓𝐻𝐢 planning for 2021 or 2022?
As I said, our process didn't stop from last year, and we had already started our photo shoots for 2021. So hinting on what Matthew would have said earlier as well, is that whatever processes and the theme and everything that we would have developed is something that can roll over. And we would have presented costumes already to show people and let people know that we actually have a product. The only things that we will have to streamline going forward from a day-to-day perspective is how the data kicks in terms of how to apply, however the government decides to work with the carnival community here to ensure that there is a safe carnival or safe entertainment industry, because carnival is entertainment. Carnival is not, in Trinidad and Tobago, when it comes to carnival on the road, we have no behavior. So this is not a social distancing party. We have to be able to interact with people. I need to be able to whine on a man needs to be able to whine on me. So at the end of the day, I mean, we still have to remain cautious, because you have to know if this person probably has been vaccinated, if this person probably may have had COVID and stuff and everything. So at the end of the day, it's a very tricky way back into the industry. So for us, it's a day-by-day process in terms of understanding everything. If it's one thing we do is a lot of research and we watch a lot of international news and then weigh everything of what's going on locally here. And then also we're looking at the other carnivals and how it's going to play out come this year. I mean, we have our projections and stuff in terms of what may be first, what may not happen, how things may be able to progress. But at the end of the day, it's still a fluid situation in the globe. So anything can happen. So I really hope that 𝐓𝐻𝐢 comes off and that Swanky is able to celebrate their 15 years and just the celebration of life overall with the 65,000 vaccinated citizens in 𝐓𝐻𝐢. So at the end of the day, every single carnival that happens is going to be, it has to be an example. You have to take something from there and see how it can possibly work wherever you're positioned. So that's kind of like for us on our side. And I can't give away much of our plans. I can't give away anything at the end of the day, but we already would have started planning for a carnival.
Kara, can I add? No, sorry, Swanky, you go ahead.
I actually had a question for Kara and Tanya with regards to Trinidad and their vaccination plan. I mean, do you all have a tier system in place right now on who gets vaccinated in Trinidad? Is it like, because I know we had a tier system. We're actually on tier 3 right now, which is anyone can go to get vaccinated. Is there a similar thing in Trinidad? The reason I'm asking is because I need my artists and DJs.
Yes, and trust me, the artists and they are ready to some of them have reported, they're ready to fly. They've been I say pandemic fatigue is real. And a lot of the artists and they play mass with us So in conversations that we've been having for the year, a lot of them have expressed, concerns, but a lot of them also want to just be able to share their talent with everybody. In terms of the phases, our Ministry of Health indicated 2 phases. We received, I think was it 2,000 or 5,000 vaccines via Barbados, through Barbados via India, something along those lines. And those doses would have been used towards health professionals. The 33,600 that's coming in is also going to be with the health professionals and also the most vulnerable. And then the second phase is going to be with our law enforcement, essential workers and stuff like that. Well, other essential workers and stuff and everything. So it can, I believe it could change based on how the vaccines are received in the country and when. But just as how the US would have started and probably other countries, healthcare is the main set of people that need to be vaccinated first, and then also our most vulnerable. So I don't qualify anytime soon for a vaccine. I haven't seen anything around my age group or anything at all. So I'll probably be like lower down on the list in the coming year and stuff. So it's just a matter of paying attention to what the Ministry of Health puts out.
Tanya, don't worry. We will take a boat and go to Cayman Islands, and we will get vaccinated in Cayman Islands.
Well, how long that boat ride is, Gil? Because you see that seasickness business.
That's about a week.
Yeah, I mean,
we will figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Will be the quarantine period.
Yeah, we could take a yacht across, and make a week out of it. Matthew, I know that you wanted to say something to touch on that last topic there.
Yeah, I did. So you'd asked what GenX was doing, or how do we see things restarting. I kind of just I'd be remiss if I never brought up certain things, because there was actually, there were actually some benefits in us kind of having that year off. It gave us a lot more time to reflect on how we kind of executed the year before. And the reality is a big part done by our committee, which would be the GenX committee, and just kind of going over certain points, certain things that we did extremely well in 2019, or potentially certain things where we could have done better. So all those things that we could have done better, we've actually surrounded them with processes to kind of, bring them to what we would consider an ideal or an optimal level. So the band, when we come out, we're actually, we believe that we'll be, executing and operating at a lot higher level in terms of just our execution and us facilitating masqueraders and consumers. And funnily enough, that may have been because we just had so much time to reflect and kind of get together and really go over the stuff. For all committee members, big ups to them. They were really on the ball in terms of, listen, we can do this better, we could do that better. And we're able to kind of develop, mechanisms and processes to make sure that when the time comes, we'll execute and do extremely well on the road, and within Miami Carnival. Second thing I wanted to point out was that a lot of what Scott just said in terms of, I guess, different ways to have a COVID-friendly carnival, those points are being discussed in Miami right now. So with the state, with the city, they're actually entertaining or should be entertaining ideas like having a carnival where potentially bands are maybe a little smaller, but definitely segregated. And obviously this is there are a myriad of options and things that we can do, but those conversations are being had in Miami as well. So I say that to say this, I'm very confident that something is going to happen in Miami, and it's going to be special. It's going to be extremely unique. I believe it's going to be unique as well, in a good way. So I wanted just to keep anyone who's watching, I kind of wanted to cue them in to that yes, they are having these conversations. The state wants Carnival to happen. The city wants Carnival to happen. It's just how that they can get it to be executed in a quote unquote COVID friendly way. Because once we're on the road, it's a different story.
Unmute,
Kara,
Kara.
you're muted. Mute.
Kara, you're muted.
My bad. Thank you so much, Matthew. So as we get ready to wrap up, this pandemic has really taken a toll on everyone. So I would like for each of you band leaders to leave a positive message for your masqueraders. So right now, all of the masqueraders from Yuma, Exodus, Swanky International, GenX is online right now. So I would like for you guys to leave a positive message for your masqueraders. And I will start with Tanya.
I just like when you start with me.
It's all about the ladies, I'm here for you, sis.
Oh, that's what we're talking about. When the pandemic had hit last year, and there was a message that we put out that we said that how Yuma is here to stay and it's not going anywhere. Our goal, and it has not changed, is to ensure one that we remain visible and that we continue to strengthen partnerships and stuff that we have. So if it is that we are unable to celebrate Trinidad and Tobago, we want to be able to have our humans wherever they are in the world to be able to experience the Yuma vibe and Carnival anywhere else that we're affiliated with. So for us, don't be disappointed if it is that at present we can't share more of what it is that we're aiming to do, because we will be in Miami. If Miami is happening, it may not be a physical human from our shores here, but it's going to be a human representing somewhere. Same way in Jamaica, hopefully one day in KMAS and stuff. It may not be in May, but we'll see how that goes, because our humans are spread across the world. So we hope that humans be able to carry the mantle and fly that flag for us wherever they are at, until we're able to have an enjoyable, safe carnival in Trinidad and Tobago 202 ? I mean, we're hoping for 2022 at the end of the day, but we're also going to be realistic. So our whole thing is we're going to work with everybody to be able to ensure that our vibe is every single place that we can possibly be. So stay tuned.
Thank you. See, that's why you went first. Craig, what message are you leaving with the masqueraders of the world? Oh, you're on mute. 1 second.
You muted.
Okay, Greg, go ahead.
Well, I was saying, I thought you was going to leave the best for last, saying how we are on track to having the carnival this year, but no problem. Now, for everyone out there, first and foremost, do get vaccinated. If you have the opportunity to, if you're in the US, UK, Canada, well, Canada's dropped the ball a little bit. But if you're in a place that you can get vaccinated, you have the opportunity to get vaccinated. And for everyone out there that has been bombarding me with messages about the protocols stipulations of coming to Cayman for KMAS in July, we're still waiting on confirmation with our very cautious government to give us a better direction, because what we're waiting on right now is to hit or to be close to hitting that herd immunity number, and it's not 10 people, Tanya, Matt, but once we are at that level of the herd immunity, I think the target is 75% of people vaccinated. We will have a better idea of when borders will open. And honestly, what we're hoping for is that once you're vaccinated, you have to do your PCR test 72 hours before. That's negative. Then we will have a quick test here in Cayman on arrival. And once those two tests are negative and you're vaccinated, it's welcome to the Cayman Islands, welcome to KMAS 2021. And that is where the government and KMAS Carnival and Swanky International are desperately heading towards. The goal is to know what's going on by mid-April, I would say, right after elections, to be able to know exactly what the stipulations will be for entry into Cayman from June 30th to July 5th. So for everyone out there, please, 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 at 𝐓𝐡𝐢𝐬 on Instagram, just to be able to stay in tune with what is going on in Cayman, and also 𝐏mask.ky on Instagram. So here is to what will be the first major carnival since the Mecca Trinidad Carnival 2020. Swanky International 𝐏mask Carnival, we're ready, and we're just hoping that everything continues on the course that we're on, that we can really, really celebrate life right here in the Cayman Islands, the most beautiful place you could ever enjoy Carnival, and doing it safe, and hey, possibly even doing it maskless.
Thank you so much, Craig. Scott, what positive, sweet, and short message would you like to leave for all of the Exodus masqueraders around the world? Oh, your connection is really good right now.
Yeah, I switched phones.
Like, it's really, really good.
For once. Should have figured this out earlier. Anyway, to our Exodus family, we understand how frustrated everybody has been, with the postponements, and we just ask you to, remain patient with us. I say, we are working our best towards having a carnival. I mean, take your frustration and multiply it by 1,000, and that's how frustrated we are as band owners. And I'll say that for all the carnival in Jamaica, not just for Exodus, but even for our competitors at Jamaica and Bacchanal. We all mean well. We all want to have a safe carnival, and we're all ready to have a safe carnival once we can do so, and once the government gives us the go ahead to do so. So again, remain patient. Say, just understand that this is out of our control. So stop coming at our throats. We're dying to be on the road with you guys again, and have that amazing Exodus Carnival experience.
Thank you, Scott. And last but not least, Matthew, on behalf of the GenX team, what would you like to say to your masqueraders?
To the GenX family, and I guess this is from myself, this is from the rest of guys and gals, the entire committee and the entire team. We are basically a champion for the people. We want to know what you guys think. At the end of the day, we are trying to have the carnival. We're going to do our best. I would tell people to cautiously plan to be in Miami for October. Regardless of what they're saying in terms of a carnival, I would say this pretty confidently, that the weekend is going to happen. There are going to be a ton of parties. It's going to be an amazing time. So I want people to kind of still, think within that, think and accommodate for that type of movement in their calendar in October. To our virologist who's on board, we would love to invite you to come down into Miami. Obviously, that's if you feel up to it. We'd love to have you on board. Craig Frederick, Swanky International Cayman, we plan to be there in July. We've already had conversations. We're confident. We're hoping things work out. And to the GenX family, if it's going down in Cayman, it's definitely going to be going down in Miami. That's just how I'm framing things. I might be wrong, but I think I'm right. And if I think I'm right, then I've got to be right. I hope that made sense. So I want to big up everybody. I want to thank you guys for obviously having me on. Kara, you did an amazing job. All the rest of the panelists, you did an amazing job. And I hope to be linking up with each and every one of you in your hometown for Carnival. And we can drink my favorite drink, that of Hennessy. Thank you.
Speak it into the universe. Let's manifest that. We need to be outside in the very near future. I know Tanya and I definitely need to be outside because Trinidad is on this lockdown situation. But Again, you know, it was an honor speaking with each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this amazing and very important conversation. Craig in Cayman Islands, Scott in Jamaica, Tanya in Trinidad, Dr. Jeffers Francis in North Carolina, and Matthew in Miami. It was a pleasure, and it looks like a lot of persons in the chats they took a lot from this. So I'm happy that we were able to share a little bit more insight, into this Carnival and COVID situation. I definitely want to say thank you to the entire GenX committee. You guys are absolutely amazing. Happy International Women's Week to the female masqueraders, the women on the panel. It's our month. I mean, it's our year. I feel like it's just our century, as a matter of fact. But yeah. And of course, thank you to our sponsor, 𝐏𝐬 Shopper. If you guys missed it, I will be running their ad at the end, so you can make sure and get the code and get 10% off. All their goodies, all that, we always want some goodies in the States and in Canada, so you can get all your goodies from the Caribbean sent directly to your house. But again, thank you guys so much for joining. Please continue to be safe. Like Dr. Jeffers Francis said, just wear your mask. It's simple. Just for the next little while, just wear your mask. But we really appreciate having you guys here. Thank you again on behalf of GenX. Look out for the next project. We will be coming with something bigger and better. And make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on Instagram, all social media at GenXCarnival. And thank you guys for being here. Have an amazing day. Everyone's on mute, but
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.